This training is going to cover filling out the automatic time cards for a student position, which would be an hourly position at Bay College through the automated time card process, which is located on MyBay. It's our internal portal, and it's under Employees and Payroll and Benefits. You'll see your time card. For student employees, they could have multiple positions, and if they did have multiple positions, they would see multiple tabs. Each tab represents a time card for that position, and it's important that the students fill out time cards for each position because hours associated with each time card are billed to different accounts, and so those hours need to be appropriately aligned with the position. In this example, I can see that I have the pay period. It's defined within the active time period or the active pay period. It shows that it starts on Monday the 24th and it ends on Sunday the 6th. So this would be the pay period. There's an X indicating that that is your time entry cutoff date. On that particular day, you have until midnight on that day to submit your time card for finalization to your supervisor for approval. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. The next icon that you see, which is on the Monday following the last day, which is a Sunday, is a $sign. That is the actual beginning of the payroll processing, and your supervisor has access to your time card on that day to submit it to payroll. If you do not submit your time card by midnight on the day of the end of the pay period, then your supervisor will submit the time card on your behalf, but you will not have access to your time card after midnight. So whatever hours you have committed as of midnight are the hours that will be submitted to payroll. So it's incredibly important that you have your hours in and up to date and submitted by midnight on the end of the pay period. Notice that there's 3 boxes up here that are in red. That indicates I have not entered any hours for those days. This is the day that I'm putting this video together, so this indicates today. And if I were to enter hours, I would put in when I came in, so that I work on this day. I came in at 9 o'clock, I left at 10:15, I came back in at 11, I left at 12:30, I came back at 2, and I left at 4:15. And it will accumulate those hours, and I have a total of 5 hours for this day. Now I need to go back and I need to enter my time for the days that I don't have time entered. And I'm going to go ahead and just put in a couple of times here real quick. And we'll say 3:15 p.m. Now I also want to point out that I had put in 10 to 10 in AM, but it rounded it to 10:15. The system will round to the nearest 15 minutes and it will round. So I need to put in my hours for the previous days. Once I've put in all my hours and I've completed the process, I will have accumulation of 17 hours, as you can see here. My supervisor can also see my time as it is being entered, and I'll show you that in a minute here. But what I want to point out is if I click on a day that's in the future, I cannot enter hours. I cannot enter hours in the system until that day. I cannot enter in the future. So just keep that in mind. Once the pay period is complete and I have all of my time entered and I want to submit this to my supervisor, I would click that the time card is final, and I would click here to finalize. When I click here to finalize, I'll get a pop-up menu that will tell me once I mark this card as final, once I mark this time card as final, I no longer can interact with it, which means that I can view it, I can see it, but I cannot enter anything into it. It's a read-only format. That just means that your supervisor has access to it at that point. So I want to actually show you here to my work study group. This is my temporary position that I've created, and you can see that the 17 hours that I had put in are the 17 hours that are reflected, and my supervisor sees those 17 hours. All right. This area here is for entering comments that go to your supervisor. This is really important if you communicate with your supervisor about various tasks that you might be doing, the supervisor will actually get this information, and you want to keep a running tally, because if you were to erase and re-enter, it will only send the latest information that are in those comments. So if you have multiple things that you want to type, multiple lines, you would just want to enter them on multiple lines and keep it tallying. All right. The next thing that I want to show you is the two different views that are available to you. This is considered calendar view. You can switch to a grid view, which would be this view here. Same exact information, it's just day to day in a grid. You can switch back to calendar if you want to switch here. There's also time card settings, and if you click your time card settings, it'll let you set the default, whether you want that to be calendar view or grid view, and it also lets you set whatever your regular days off are. So if, for instance, you only work Monday and Wednesday, you might want to mark that these are your days off, or typically your days off. And notice that it changes your card and shows only the days in light gray that you typically work. So that's it for student time cards.